Kvaratskhelia steadying himself. A star in the making. And there's the only goal. Sabiri with it. After 11 years, once again, Milan are the champions of Italy.
Ciao ragazzi, and welcome to another edition of Serie A Sitdown, World Football Index's podcast for your Calcio to go. I'm Frank Crivello. He's Richard Carmen. Ciao, Richard.
Ciao, Frank. I'm still here.
Still there, man.
Still here.
Not yet. Not quite time. We're counting down the days.
Yet.
I think that the baby's timing it for the international break, which we normally take off, so that you can have that weekend, and then you can come back when Serie A comes back. So.
That or waiting for either Allegri or Inzaghi to get fired. We'll see.
They're going to be waiting a while.
Maybe.
And I don't think your wife can stand it. So how are you otherwise?
I'm good. Can't complain. International break coming along. So, yeah, I'm good. How about you?
I'm doing good. Looking forward to getting a chance to put my feet up a little bit and, enjoy some of the international games and check some of that out here. Just a little bit of a different change of pace. So, but until then, we ended with a bang though with Serie A this weekend with
heavyweight bouts.
What's that?
2 heavyweight bouts. 2
heavyweight bouts. Yes. Roma, Atalanta, Milan, Napoli. I am, and I have made this very, very clear. I think I said it. I think I responded on. I responded to IFTV, and I normally don't respond to those guys. But they had a take. They were asking about Allegri. It's like, are you kidding me? Keep him, Juventus. Keep him. Yeah. This is great for us. And I'm not speaking as a Milan fan. This is great for just Calcio. I mean, a Juve in chaos is wonderful. It's something for us to talk about. A Juve. When we started doing this, it was Juve winning the title every year, and we're just bemoaning Juve winning it every year. We're talking about how deep and talented they are, and now the empire has fallen, and it's just you can't resist the temptation to stomp all over the rubble. And as long as you keep Allegri, that thing's never going to get rebuilt. And that's what I'm here for.
And someone who I think would agree with you 100% is probably our guest.
Yeah. Yes. Why don't we introduce our guest? He is the founder of Far From Vesuvius, host of the Raff and Raff, father of the 3 best sons one could ask for, depending on the day. I have kids too, so I know. So does Richard. And here with us, is this 8 now, Raffa?
I lost count at this point.
Let's just say 8.
We'll say 8. We can get the actual results if we dig enough, but I'll say let's go with 8.
Yeah, 8 sounds close. So we welcome once again Raffa Rispo. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing fantastic, guys. And I can't agree with you enough that Allegri needs to stay. Hashtag Allegri in. And I am loving what I'm seeing entering these days. Yeah, but I'm good, guys. I'm good. Yeah.
I'm here for chaos. I am, and even for Inter right now. And
we lived through our own chaos, right, Frank?
What's that?
We lived through our own chaos with the banter era. Good to see other people go through this.
Years of just Galliani trying to convince us that Fernando Torres could still play, that Michael Essien could still play. We just that it's not us anymore, and that there's like an absolute smart people running our club now. It's just nice to see. So it's really good in that respect. So, but yeah, it was another great week of Calcio. Let's do the rundown. We will break down Milan Napoli. We'll catch up with Raffa on what he's seen from the Partenope so far this season and what his expectations are going forward. We will talk about the Roma Atalanta match as well. Break down the rest of match week 7. we'll touch on what we've seen so far in Europe, and then look at the Italy call-ups and their games upcoming, and then finish up with the world's most popular hashtag game, Who Won Calcio Twitter. So come for the Calcio knowledge, stay for the Who Won Calcio Twitter. That's the new phrase. How's that one working out, Richard? Is that a good one?
Why not?
Yeah. Come for the Calcio knowledge, stay for the Who Won Calcio Twitter.
Gotcha.
So without further ado, Milan played Napoli. This was kind of a big deal, Richard.
Just a little bit, huh? Just a little bit. Two probably the most, I guess, exciting teams this season. Obviously, Napoli, what they dismantled Liverpool and what they've done this season so far, very exciting. And Milan, the reigning champions, have done very well so far. And so curious to see who would win, right? Strength versus strength. This turned out to be the heavyweight battle. I think we can all agree that after this game, these are clearly the two best teams in Serie A. But Milan would be the host in this one. First to the starting lineups for Milan. Maignan in goal with Calabria, Chiar, not with Kalulu, who's a little bit injured. Tomori, Teo Hernandez, midfield two of Benacer and Tonali with Krunic, De Ketelare, and Salamakers with Olivier Giroud. Frank, thoughts on the lineup when this first came out?
Well, obviously, you got to figure out what are you going to do without Rafael Leao after being suspended from the Sampdoria game, and how Milan were going to fill that attacking void, and they decided to go with Krunic on the left hand side, who makes some sense.
Krunicinho, the way he plays now.
Clearly you're not going to get the kind of production that you get out of a Rafael Leao at that position, but you get someone that's workmanlike. So now the wingers are they're both workers. They're both willing to support the midfield. They're both willing to press when Milan like to press, and they'd like to do that a lot. So I thought that the Krunic selection on the left-hand side was a smart choice. And I thought the Chiar selection at the beginning, when I saw this news roll out, was a smart choice. I want the experience in that position as well as Kalulu has played. I want the experience and the guy who knows where to be in terms of, okay, do I have to, help out Tomori with Raspadori up front and make sure we outnumber him in certain crossing situations? And then when do I go and provide cover for Calabria when he has to deal with Kvara? So I think that Chiar has more experience in those areas than Kalulu, as well as Kalulu has played. So generally, no big issue with this lineup. It meant for Charles de Ketelare, your table is ready. Time to step up and start being a playmaker now. You've gotten your feet wet enough. And then, of course, you're looking at Giroud, obviously, to do the finishing. I thought this was probably, all things considered, the best lineup Pioli could have put out.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. And looking on the flip side with the guests, Alex Moret in goal with Di Lorenzo, Rahmani, Minjae Kim, and Mario Rui in the back with Anguissa and Lobotka with Piotr Zielinski in front of them, Politano and Raspadori on either side. I guess Raspadori technically in the 9 and Kvaratskhelia on the left wing. So, Rafa, thoughts on the lineup in this one? Obviously, a very talented lineup from front to back. Was this the best lineup you could put out there?
Well, yes. This is the best lineup that we could put out. This is the, I guess, standard starting 11 for Napoli going forward here. Obviously, without Victor Osimhen, who is injured, hopefully will be back by the time the international break is over. I know he was selected for Nigeria, so I don't know how that's going to play out. But yeah, putting Raspadori in at the number 9. There was a lot of calls for Simeone to get some starts here, but to truth be told, Simeone playing as a sole striker with Raspadori's, I guess his strength is behind a striker. So for as a second striker, or he plays on the left. He's a good left winger too. Obviously, Kvaratskhelia's got that locked down. And we didn't really practice well in the offseason with a 4-2-3-1, with having a lone striker, with how Osimhen played last season a lot. So I think the 4-3-3 is how we are shaped for this season. And I mean, obviously we would, substitute and put in Simone, taking that Raspadori and putting him at the 9, and it eventually works. But to start with Raspadori, I think is a good move. He's got to grow into that position a little bit too. But yeah, this is the starting 11 that I see Napoli playing, especially when there's no midweek games. This is the strong 11. The great thing about Spalletti is that we have such a great bench too, that one or two changes and we're still the same dynamic looking, attacking, counterattacking, possession holding Napoli. But with Lobotka and Gisa in the midfield, to me, if one of those two guys don't start, the flow is a little off. So this is definitely the best 11.
Yeah, and I remember the announcers at one point during the game, whether it was Drake Cordero or Matteo, were saying that doesn't matter who Napoli brings off the bench because it really doesn't the skill level isn't dropped that dramatically. It's pretty level, so it's like you guys have so much depth coming off the bench there, which is amazing. So it's always going to be a heavyweight encounter in this one. Interesting cagey matchup. It was always a chess match, I think, especially in the first half. Throughout the game, really, what we saw was Milan trying to be physical, especially against Kvaratskhelia. We saw that obviously with a yellow card by Simon Kjaer, taking him out 18th minute just outside the box. David de Calabria also picked up a yellow card before halftime, but Milan were intent on watching him and getting help with Salamakers and then Benacer as well on the right-hand side. And for the most part, for both you gentlemen, I thought that the first half was very cagey, very close. If anything, Milan had probably a slight advantage, at least to me, in terms of possession and maybe clear scoring chances, but overall pretty even first half. And I thought Milan were doing well for the most part physically. Frank, thoughts overall in the first half and how it was shaping up? Because obviously neither team wanted to make the mistake, and the winner of this game was whoever made the most mistakes was gonna win or lose, I should say. So thoughts on the first half?
I think when you look at it, I would give Milan the advantage in the first half with the way the game went. I mean, I think they had Napoli under larger periods of pressure. The crazy thing about it is the limited pressure that Napoli put Milan under, they were very, very efficient with it. Either they were creating something. There was a big save, I think, Maignan save on Politano. And if it wasn't that, it was Kvaratskhelia putting defenders in the book, Kjaer and Calabria, as you mentioned. So, on the one end, you want to sit there and say, yeah, Milan they moved the ball around beautifully. They created a lot of great chances. They certainly had more of the ball. They had more shots, more chances in the first half. I think they outshot Napoli 11-3 in the first half. The only shot on target for Napoli was the one from Politano, but it was what Napoli, just because Napoli had one shot on target, it's one of these strange things that they didn't need to put a lot of shots on target in the first half to demonstrate that they were there and demonstrate their presence, and the two yellow cards in the first half were very indicative of that. I think the best players in that half, I'm going to go with the combination of Sandro Tonali and Ismail Benacer. Piotr Zielinski has been ripping it up all season, and I'm going to ask you about that here when we get a quick Q&A going about Napoli, Rafa. But Zielinski has absolutely shredded his way through every game so far. I mean, he's been outstanding, and I kind of expected that from him once Fabian was leaving. I thought the double pivot of Tonali and Benacer was really effective in limiting his ability to create anything dangerous and his ability to really put his stamp on the game. This was Zielinski's poorest game, but I don't think that that's an indictment on Zielinski. I think that's a credit to the combination of Tonali and Benacer for keeping him quiet.
Yeah, well, no, my rebuttal to that is I thought Milan did a really good job containing Lobotka, in my opinion. Like first half was all Milan, in my opinion. I mean, I guess towards the end of the half, Napoli started showing some signs. Took the possession from a 58 to a 52 to 48. Napoli started creating a little bit of chances at the end, but I think Milan did a fantastic job of keeping Lobotka off the ball. That was a key in the first half. Also containing Kvaratskhelia to a point. Kvaratskhelia drawing the fouls on both Kier and Calabria, to get the yellow cards was a big telltale sign of how the match was going to go in the second half. I was a little surprised to see them both come out at halftime, even on the yellow. But I think that's to credit Milan's knowledge that Kvaratskhelia is going to draw another foul and possibly a red. So that was good from them. But yeah, as far as Zielinski goes, I thought he had an all right match total in the first half. I don't think any of Napoli really got it going until really late. So yeah, the double pivot of Milan's was really effective against the midfield as a whole.
I think there was one player. I'm going to have my rebuttal now. I think there's one player who got it going, and I think it was Alex Meret, a guy who's had a lot of criticism for you guys. Came up huge in that first half, a couple big saves, one on Giroud, another one on, I believe it's Krunic, Krunicinho, if I want to call him. He was wheeling and dealing in that first half and finding people. And Catalano was doing decent as well in the first half, but Meret had to come up big because your guys' offense was kind of stagnating because of Milan. And I thought Alex Meret really kept you guys in the game, because had one of those gone in, it could have been a drastically different game. And I think Alex Meret deserves a lot of credit. Yeah. My best players of the first half, Alex Meret for me was the best player for Napoli, in my opinion, just because he kept them in the game. And then for Milan's side, I like what Krunic was doing. I thought Krunic was having an amazing game up to that point. And Calabria, which I mentioned in my halftime post, was that I thought, for the most part, Kvaratskhelia was pocketed by David Calabria. But after I posted it, I'm thinking, even though he didn't do anything, really, he drew 2 yellows, huge yellows that ended up costing Milan, because Calabria comes out and Chiara come out. Obviously you don't want to get the red like what Rafa says, because he's going to draw those fouls. He may not score on you, but he's going to make you take him down, because he will, he'll find a way. And, he gets full credit for that, right? He didn't get any shots or goals, whatever, but he definitely gets credit for those two fouls. So interesting first half overall. 0-0. We knew goals were going to come. We thought goals would come. I don't know, man. It wouldn't be surprised to see a 0-0 game in this one. But as Rafa mentioned, 2 substitutions. Kalulu comes on, Sam and Chiara go off, and Chiara's not even fully healthy yet, so maybe that's part to do with it. And then Calabria coming out for Dest. Frank, when I saw these 2 people come in, Kalulu, I'm not so worried about. Dest, though, I was immediately worried. Not that Dest is a bad player, but he doesn't have the experience or the defensive capability to defend against someone like a Kvaratskhelia, who is a menace for anybody in the league, let alone a new guy like Dest. What were your thoughts when you saw those guys come in?
Pioli's comments after the game, he said that Calabria's substitution was only the yellow card in part, but it sounded like he had a little muscular problem.
Muscular injury, yeah.
Yep. So we should clarify that. I mean, yeah, Chiara was yellow card. He couldn't afford to keep him out there and have him get a second. So the substitutions, I mean, obviously Kalulu is a natural replacement for Chiara, and then you bring on Dest, which, okay, you've got to roll the dice here because Calabria's hurt. Calabria's hurt. He's got a yellow. You leave him out there, an injured a player who's got even if it was a nagging problem, and he probably could have played the last 45 minutes. Chances are very, very good that there's just that one moment where he would have arrived late enough, and he's out.
Yep.
And Milan are down to 10. So it's a substitution that had to be made all around for a myriad of reasons. The muscular problem, yes. The yellow card played a part, obviously. You at that point, you've got to roll the dice. And, Dest and Kalulu don't have the experience that Calabria and Chiara do, but they have the athleticism, they have the pace, they have the ability to recover. If they do make mistakes, if they do miss tackles, they can regroup. So it's not a pretty situation for Milan by any stretch of the imagination, but one they just had to go with.
Yes, 100%. But unfortunately for us, not for you, Rafa, but my intuition came to fruition, and Mr. Dest takes down Kvaratskhelia in the box, clear stone penalty.
Yeah.
Again, number 77 doing his thing. He's not necessarily getting shots on goal, but he's causing havoc. He gets taken down in the box. I mean, there's no question of the penalty for you, Rafa, I'm sure, right? Clear penalty.
Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
No doubt.
And Politano steps up. you okay with Politano? I mean, I know he's been lights out from the penalty spot. Are you okay with him taking it? And obviously he scored, so I'm sure you're happy with that.
I am okay with it. I think we were going towards Osimhen as our penalty taker. I know that there was some talk about sharing the role between Osimhen and Kvaratskhelia in the offseason. Kvaratskhelia took one, Osimhen took one. I don't know. I mean, Zielinski, he was good for Liverpool's penalty. And then he wasn't for Rangers penalties. So
yeah, he missed 2 against Rangers.
Sure. Yeah. So Politano stepped up, took care of business against Rangers, and was called upon today, took care of it today. I think we just need to find out who that guy is going to be for penalties, because for the longest time it was Insigne, and towards the end of Insigne's reign at Napoli, it was not as lights out as it used to be. And I think we're just kind of trying to figure that out. And Politano seems to be pretty decent at the penalty kick spot. He slipped it right underneath Magnan today. Rangers keeper had a hand on it, in the last match, but it was strong enough to go in. So I think maybe it is Politano. I think he's fit for the role. I think he's pretty composed at that spot. And, lucky for us, we have a good penalty taker who hopefully is fit. I know he limped off today, but I couldn't be happier if it will be Politano. Italian, maybe he can take Italy's penalties from now on too. I know he got called up, so we'll talk about that later too. But really had the penalty was a penalty. Our feed got knocked out. I think it might have been
just when the penalty happened. Yeah,
just it's funny because I'm watching with my cousin at our barbershop. We closed up and watched the game. And I said to him, watch, we come back. It's 1-0 somebody, watch. And, come back and it's a penalty. So, I just have a feeling for those things.
Yeah.
But, the way the second half started, I mean, Napoli opened up a bit, started attacking a little bit more, took some control of the game. And then, Kvara did, like you said, Richard, sometimes these guys in these roles, if it's not going to go in, or if they're not going to get clear shots on net, they need to be productive in other ways. And Kvara was very much so.
Yeah. Frank, this game, not that it needed any goals because it was a fantastic game up to the penalty, but you always want to see how Milan's going to react when something happens like that, right? Because Napoli are very good once they get a lead to build on that lead. We saw that against Liverpool. We saw that against Rangers, and many times throughout the season so far. So, good reaction from Milan. A goal of the week candidate, a lovely team goal that ended with Theo passing it to Olivier Giroud, making it 1-1 at that point. Big game player Olivier Giroud, Frank. Talk about what you thought once a goal went in, how you felt the momentum, if it was swinging in any way.
Everything about this goal is just outstanding. Just from Diaz finding De Ketelaere's pass to Theo is perfectly weighted. The thing that I want everybody to go back and look at the replay, and I like watching box runs. It's one of my favorite things. As somebody that played forward when I played, I'm looking to see. I don't look at the guy with the ball getting ready to cross. I'm looking at what's going on in the box. And the thing that I saw immediately was Junior Macias sprinting to the near 6. When he does that, watch it again, because he drags Mario Rui with him. Mm-hmm. And all Giroud does is he just kind of curls wide and over to the back post, where he's just, and Macias's run gets Rui chasing him. Nobody accounts for Giroud on the play, and Giroud's wide open. Theo does a perfect job of picking him out. Giroud with a cool finish. I mean, it's a clinic on how to make runs in the box and how to confuse defenders. And it was a great goal. And I was thinking at the time that another goal was coming, and that there was more of a likelihood that it was going to come from Milan. And sure enough, it happened. And this was, there's so much to like about what happened on this goal.
Yeah, it was a very good goal, and made it 1-1, and actually started going back and forth. I mean, it was a true heavyweight bout, I thought. And it's fitting that, you talked about box runs, and I too like to watch the box runs, and someone on the Napoli side did something very, very good on their goal. Cholito Simeone, what he does, watch him catch the ball or catch the ball with his chest, draws in 3 Milan players, holds them off, finds his open man, and makes the run into the box in front of Fikayo Tomori, and then puts a beautiful header away. Who got the assist? Mario Rui, right? Rafa,
Yeah.
what a goal by
Yes,
that.
sir. Yeah, it was a real striker's goal. This is what we needed. We needed a guy like Cholito Simeone to come in and basically be our backup. Instead of Petagna. Like Petagna in that role last season, the season before, I'm not saying he got some good goals. He got some big goals, Petagna did, but it were very few and far between. But when you have a guy like Simeone sitting on the bench, a guy who, like, the CBS crew would said, scored 17 goals last season, had a career season.
Yeah.
This guy's got the potential to come off the bench and score like 2 or 3 goals off the bench alone.
Yeah.
Just the right place at the right time. He knows where to be. What a ball to Mario. I think he ended up setting it up to Mario for Mario to set up to him. Gives the pass off and then just gets himself in the box. And that's what you have to do. You have to get in the box. So often, and even once or twice in the first half, where it happens where like Raspadori, and I'm not knocking Raspadori. I like Raspadori. I think he's fine for this club. But him and other players in the past just not in the box, not where they're supposed to be when there's a rebound or when there's like a ball played to the middle and no one can find the striker in the middle. And Simeone is that guy that's going to get in the middle. Even today, there was that nice ball. I think it was from Mario Rui to Zielinski's ball to Politano on the far end in the
Uh-oh. He's got the CBS feed. There he is.
Yeah, we got to see. My internet is terrible, guys. I'm sorry. But anyway, the ball Zielinski sent in to Politano where he headed it into Magnan. And Magnan, stuck his hand out. And had there been Raspadori, lacking, slacking a little bit behind, had he been a few steps forward, that would have caused some sort of trouble. I'm not saying he would have scored it, but it could have, could have made it a little more interesting where Simeone is sending the ball into Mario Rui. Mario Rui's crossing it in, and Simeone is right there for it. And when that ball went into the back of the net, it was just like a sigh of relief because I thought that a 1-1 would have been a good result, a fair result.
Sure.
But, when you get the winner, it's just so much better, right? Isn't it?
It is. It is.
And I hate to rub it in your guys' face.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
Deserved. It's deserved.
Yeah.
And
Matchweek set. We got 31 more of these to go, Rafa. So.
That's true. It's not over by any long shot. But again, like I said, a 1-1 would have been had he not scored that goal, I think I would have been just fine with the 1-1 based on the way both teams played. Milan dominated the first half. Napoli took a little bit more control of the second half. So I think it would have been a fair result.
But that's what's so good about these games too, is because like 1-1 is a fair scoreline for both teams, but it's so much better when one team wins because it's both heavyweights really going at it. Right. Does it really hurt either team if one of them loses? No, but it does make big statements if you win, especially if you win on the road like you guys did. And so fantastic bout, Frank. I thought both teams showed a lot. Milan obviously put a lot of pressure at the end of the game trying to get that equalizer in there, but they fall just short. Talk about how you felt the game went overall.
I want to come back to the Simeone goal, and okay. First of all, let me make a disclaimer here. Good teams are going to catch when their opponents are disconnected, and Milan defensively were disconnected on that goal. There was I thought there was a clearance that only got as far as Mario Rui. And the back four, and Tomori in particular, just stayed in the penalty area. There wasn't a demand either from Magnan or any kind of communication to just start stepping forward and start squeezing that space down again. So I think, and Pioli even made this point, said we were all over everybody was all over the place on the winning goal for Napoli. The back four, Tomori's sitting just about on the penalty spot, maybe just behind it. All the way to the midfielders are stretched out. I mean, everybody's just stretched, and nobody thinks to just start compacting and getting towards the ball a little bit, which is what I would have liked to have seen once that ball started making its way back out to Mario Rui. And I don't know if it was fatigue or what it was, but Napoli takes advantage of it. Mario Rui puts that's a brilliant cross.
Yeah.
And Raspadori gets to it, beats Tomori to it, and glances it perfectly. So, it's a credit to Napoli because they're a good team, and they take a good team is going to take advantage when they can catch an opponent when they're disconnected. And Milan were a little disconnected defensively on that goal.
Now, I could say the same thing about the Milan goal though too, because Napoli were a little disconnected in defense.
Well, they all overchased on
they
Milan's
all
goal.
overchased overchased that left side. Yeah. And left Giroud wide open. So, the first defensive mistake Napoli makes, Milan puts it in. So I think it's funny because after the match, CBS asked, I think it was Poppy Miller who asked Grella, who, after this match, are these the best two teams in Serie A? And he goes, I don't know about that, and everybody, I can imagine everybody watching is like, "Are you out of your mind? These are the two best
teams in Italy by a distance."
I mean, you can talk about Udinese and their little run, and you can talk about Atalanta, and they don't have any Europe. But these right here are the best two teams in Serie A right now, bar none.
Yeah.
No Inter, no Juve, no Lazio, no Roma. It's Napoli and Milan. That's it.
This was a tremendous display by both teams. Okay, you know what? Milan played really, really well in this game. There's really not a lot you can look at with Milan. All things considered, you have Leao's out of the picture, a huge source of what you do going forward, and you still manage to score a really nice goal. You still get, I think, 22 shots in this game. For sure. Generate a lot of chances and still manage to put Napoli under pressure. I think the preparation and the game plan by Pioli was excellent. Napoli made one more play than Milan did. That's what this came down to. Two good teams having a go at each other. And Napoli made one more play, finished one more chance than Milan did, which, kind of sounds cliche, but that's really the way you got to look at it. Either team could have won this game. You would not have argued with either team getting the 3 points, and you certainly wouldn't have argued with either team sharing the points in this game too. So
Pioli said it best. He said, "I'm pissed off because we played well. You should never lose when you play well." And
right.
I mean, and both teams played well, and just like you said, one team made one more play than the other team. So, absolutely.
My junior year, we lost the state championship after outshooting our opponent 20-2, and we didn't score. We lost on penalties. So that's football. That's this sport. That's how crazy this sport can be. You can play well, but still make enough mistakes to lose the game. So it
happened twice to Napoli against Spezia in the last 2 seasons before this past Napoli Spezia game at the Maradona. Napoli would get 20 to 30 shots on net to Spezia's 2-4 and 1-0 Spezia, or 2-1 Spezia. And it's frustrating and it happens. But like you said, it's not even the better team won. This was a match of the two best teams, and we can't wait to see what happens at the Maradona when we play each other again. And speaking of Pioli saying what he said, when you have a manager like Spalletti who wasn't on the touchline for this, he was suspended, so Domenichini took his place.
Mm-hmm.
But Domenichini came out and said in the post-match press was the first thing Spalletti wanted to talk to him about talking to the players is what they missed instead of praising them on the performance and how good they did. Like I want to talk about the opportunities we missed and what went wrong instead of what went right. And that is, to me, very, very important going forward, because you got a team that's top of the table that just beat the reigning champions for their first loss of the season, and you're not happy about it, So it's a testament to Spalletti and to Pioli.
And their first loss in Milan's first loss in months.
First time they lost 3 in a row to
time.
Napoli,
That's
2 in a
right.
long time.
Yeah.
That's true.
When you really think about it. So, you know, and to follow up, on some of this, and the other thing that I saw, and I posted it. I said these are clearly the 2 best teams in Italy. That's the thing that that's the one thing I take out of this game more than anything. Yeah. And of course, Milan Twitter, Napoli Twitter have to get into my responses. Well, we didn't have Leao. It's we didn't have Osimhen.
Yeah, exactly.
You didn't need either of them. I mean, really. I mean, nobody missed one. Neither team missed one more than the other. The way this game shaped out, you probably could make the argument that Napoli might have missed Osimhen a little bit, especially with Raspadori starting and the way Raspadori played. Michael Lisi made the point. He said, I didn't even know Raspadori was out there until they said his name, like in the start of the second half or something that. So, that, okay, maybe. But Milan carved out attacks without Leao's involvement. So, if there was anything here, maybe a slight edge to the idea that Napoli probably missed Osimhen more than Milan missed Leao in this game, the way it played out. So,
sure.
So stop with this guy wasn't here, that guy wasn't here, Spaletti wasn't on the touchline. I mean, stop. I mean, how about
doesn't
just
matter? It was still match of the round. Either way, it was match of the round, and it was what everybody's going to talk about for the next 2 weeks. So.
Yeah, and appreciate that the 2 best teams in Italy put on an incredible performance, put on a great game, one of the best games of the season to date. And a good game to take us into the international break.
Yeah, and there's two players I want to focus in on Napoli before we move on. First, Cholito Simeone, like you mentioned, Rafa, how he's such an upgrade from Petagna. He does so much, right? Not only does he hold up the ball very well, he drew out both center backs from Milan, Kalulu and Tamori, and what's his name, Tonali, all out of position. That kind of started the chaos of why everybody was so all over the place, and that's what kind of led to the goal. And then my beast of the match, I don't know if he was your beast of the match, but Mario Rui, what a fantastic game. He started out slow in the game and got better and better and better, and then that assist was just the cherry on top. Talk to us about how Mario Rui really came and almost dominated this game, honestly, as the game went on.
I love how you used the beast of the match reference, Richard. That was gold. I love it. Truth be told, right now, our nominations for Beast of the Match, they will be Beast of the Match will be unveiled tomorrow night on the Napoli Rant, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. I believe 8:30. Somewhere
nice
around
plug.
there.
Nice plug.
Yeah, thank you. I don't have to do it later. I'll do it later still. But anyway, Beast of the Match nominations right now for us are, and Ralph Pizarro still hasn't seen the match. He's got to come home from work and watch it. But I told him, I said, listen, it's either Meret or it's Mario Rui, because in my opinion, Mario Rui played the best game he has played for Napoli this season so far, probably in quite a while. He was getting in there defensively. He was really a nuisance to Milan defensively, and he had some really good wins. He had some really good passes, and that assist just kind of sealed the deal for me. He really is so different from when he was sort of like being like the subject of banter with Napoli fans. Mario Rui has really stepped up, and he plays with 100% heart, and there's nothing more you can ask for to give your all. If you have an off game and you gave your all, we can respect that. But he gives his all every single game, and he deserves a Beast of the Match nomination. Like I said, so does Meret. Meret started off this season where we all wanted him hanged and tossed out to sea. And he has regained his confidence by becoming the number one. Every time there was an opportunity for Meret to have the number one, something would happen. He'd get injured. He'd botch a play. And then here comes Ospina, and Ospina saves the day. And it was like that between Ancelotti, Gattuso, and Spalletti of last season. But now, without Ospina, without having secured Keylor Navas or Kepa, which was ridiculous, Meret has become the number one unquestionably. and you have a guy like Sirigu, who is a mentor anyway, and Medet's mentor on the national team, fellow Euro 2020 winner. He's got all the confidence in the world now. And those saves that he pulled out in the first half and a couple of plays, it's also with his feet, his footwork, his distribution, his wherewithal. It's just gotten so much better over these 7 games in the league and the 2 in the Champions League. I fully believe that this guy just needed that assurance that he's going to be the number one. And now he is 100% the number one. And I'm so happy we stuck with him. So for me, it was between Rui and Medet. I'd probably, if you ask me, go with Medet, with Mario Rui. But yeah, man, just an incredible performance from those 2 guys, I think.
Frank, any other standouts in the game?
Kvaratskhelia was fouled 3 times. Calabria, yellow card. Kiar, yellow card. Dest, penalty. I mean, the only other contribution to the game from Kvaratskhelia was 1 off-target shot. So we're talking about a guy that does not need to be productive in ramping up shots and crosses and creating chances and scoring goals to have an influence on the game. I don't think I've ever seen a guy like all of the fouls that he drew had a significant impact on the game. 2 of them put guys in the book. The third one won a penalty. I've never seen that before. It's crazy. I'm with you on the Rui call. I thought Rui's a guy, when you look at him, you're just kind of like, yeah, he's one of these fullbacks that, okay, what he does going forward, he can cross the ball, his technique's really good, and, he can create some things and that sort of thing. But what does he offer defensively? He seems like a guy you can go at, and he seems like a guy you can get through, but he was firm today. I mean, he won tackles, he won the free ball, and things like that. So I'm with you. I'm with you on that call. And then I think, on the Milan side, like I thought that Benacer was the best player in this game for Milan altogether. I thought that, his role in, he had to wear a bunch of different hats. He also created 5 chances in this game, but he helped try to cover when Kvaratskhelia was running. He had to cut out passing lanes whenever Zielinski was trying to become a presence, or Lobotka, to your point, Rafa. And then when he won the ball, started the play.
You only got an assist on Kalulu's post.
Yes.
Late in the game.
Yeah. The one with Kalulu hitting the post. So, I thought that Benacer was the best player for Milan. I thought that Rui was the best player for Napoli. It was, man, hell of a game. Sad that Milan didn't win it, but I have a soft spot for Napoli, so I'm happy for you, Rafa. So.
I have a soft spot for Milan as well. So, and you guys know that. I think I've said that before here.
Yep.
I really do. I have a lot of fans, friends who are fans, and a lot of people I respect and regard in this business that are Milan fans. And, if this was 1987 to 1990, we could be talking a different story. I couldn't stand Milan.
Yes, we could.
I couldn't stand Milan back then. It's funny because Henry Bell and I were talking about it today, where he said, this is the Rafa. Anytime he sees us playing against each other, this is the Rafa grudge match, because he knows how much I hated that 1980s, 1990s Milan team. And then I grew up to appreciate the game a little more and appreciate Milan a lot more. So
that's just because it seemed like Baresi and Maldini would just beat Maradona within an inch of his life and never get booked for it.
It's true. It's true. They never got booked for taking him out, man. Maradona was those days. I mean, I love watching tape of those days. It's
different time.
Great. Yeah, different time for sure.
Yeah. Mercy. So let's do a quick Q&A on Napoli here, Rafa. I think you've listened to our podcast. I've said it multiple times, and I think we kind of talked about this. I mean, a lot of other, like the general Calcio programs, okay, the English-speaking Calcio programs, we're all getting ready to call out Kvaratskhelia as the breakout player of this Serie A season. And I don't argue with anybody that wants to say that, okay? My whole point was, and I said this way back in our preview, is I saw him play before he came to Napoli. I saw him play for Georgia. My gambling habits made me watch Georgia. I can't remember who they played. But okay, I can't name another guy on Georgia except I know that his last name ends in Vili in all likelihood. And I'm not trying to say that to be, I'm not trying to say that to profile Georgians. That's just whenever I look at a Georgia lineup, that's just what I'm drawn to when I see their last names. Now, Kvaratskhelia is playing for Georgia, is a man amongst boys on the Kvaratskhelia. Thank you.
Kvaratskhelia.
Okay. Don't worry.
It's okay. It's okay.
Butcher a bunch of names.
Do you know the worry I had when he signed him, and I was like, when he scores the first goal at the Maradona, what's the crowd? What's the crowd gonna do when they have to yell his name out? That was one of the first things. Oh, it was great.
Yeah. So let's just Kvara, because he said that for sure. Kvaradona. Okay. Better national teams know he's the man. Prepare to deal with him, prepare to try to take him out of a game or try to make him a non-factor, but he still is productive, drawing fouls, creating chances, crosses, goals. He can load up the proverbial stat sheet. So when he came to Napoli, I sat there and I said, it's not going to surprise me that he's going to be really good, because now you got him on the left, you got Politano or Lozano on the right, you got Osimhen up front. He's going to be surrounded by talent. You can't just key in on him now. He's going to go and be the man. So I'm not particularly surprised at the impact that he's had since coming over. But I'd like to get your input from my thought was, and Richard will support this. Once it was known that Fabian was going to go to PSG, I said, Pietro Zielinski is going to step up in a big way. He is going to take command of things. And while everyone's going to talk about Maradona, and rightfully so, Pietro Zielinski is going to have a huge piece of what's going on with this thing, and he has so far. So I just want to start by asking your opinion. Kvaradona first. We'll call him that to make it easy. And then, Zielinski. Do you share my sentiment that this is the impact you expected from him once Fabian was gone?
So as far as Kvaratskhelia, Kvaradona, Kvara, whatever you want to call him, the Georgia Peach is what I like to call him.
There you go. I like that.
The Georgia Peach.
I like that.
You like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the game you're thinking of is the one against North Macedonia where they beat him 3-0.
Yeah.
And Macedonia having just performed in the Euro and got themselves a win in the Euro too, and then beating Italy in the World Cup playoff. Here comes Georgia, and Georgia just completely dismantles them, and it was a large part due to Kvaratskhelia. Yeah, I had watched him too a little bit when the rumblings were that we were going to sign him. And I fully 100% thought that he's going to come in here and light this league up. I mean, I've been on various, my show, other shows, I'm asked by a lot of people, on Twitter and, what do you think? What do you think? And I just every time I was asked that, I'd say the same thing. This guy's going to light this league up right away. No questions asked. And, a lot of people gave me some crap about it saying, he's got to, this is not the Georgian league. This is not the, Russian league. This is, the Italian league with Serie A. We're going, he's got to integrate himself into the mix. He can't just come on to a team and light things up, this and that. And look what he's done. He's already August Serie A Player of the Month. He is a clear better replacement to Insigne, and that's not a knock on Insigne either, because you could definitely see the downward slope that Insigne was in. Even when I praised his performances last year, when not many people were, you could definitely tell that there is a rejuvenation on that side of the pitch. And I fully expected the start from Kvaratskhelia. I didn't expect Napoli to be so dynamic along with the team, with Kvaratskhelia. I didn't really expect us to be in this position. I thought that we'd be somewhere around first place, maybe second, third. I had us finishing in third at the end of the season, a third with a close fourth, top four for sure. But I didn't think that it was going to be like this, with the addition of Kim, with the loss of all the major players that we had. I'll admit I was a little concerned myself, even though I knew Napoli replaced well. Napoli are very good when it comes to scouting and developing and bringing in the right players and spending the right amount of money and all that stuff. I was also under the impression, oh wow, look at what Roma did. Inter is still Inter. Milan are the champions. Juventus got who? And it's like, it was a little scary. Lazio made a lot of really good moves. It was a little scary at first, but when Kvaratskhelia came in game one and lit things up, and Napoli put 5 past Verona and then 4 past Monza, and then just this attitude it's a different attitude. Kvaratskhelia plays with a different attitude than Lorenzo Insigne has ever played. And you can see that so evident in the first 7 games of the league. Now, as far as Zielinski goes, I always knew Zielinski to be one of the best midfielders in the league. And I never once doubted Zielinski having a really good season this season. Last season was due to COVID, in my opinion, and nobody can change my mind. He got COVID. He came back. He was not the same. And you're right. The focus was on Fabian Ruiz a little bit more. Fabian Ruiz played really well for us last season. But Fabian leaving or not, I always knew Zielinski was going to come around and have a season like he should. And to me, 2 seasons ago, he was midfielder of the season. I think they might have given it to Barella 2 seasons ago. But in my opinion, he was midfielder of the season. Double-digit goals and assists, and just a contributor. Yeah. And he's back to it. He's 100% back to it. I think the reason Zielinski has so much, riding on him and positively this season is also due to Lobotka and Anguissa's help in the midfield. Without Lobotka and Anguissa being so helpful, whereas Zielinski doesn't really have to worry too much about covering for any one of them, I think that makes Zielinski just frees him up in the park and allows him to get a little bit more forward and allows him to play make and allows him to dictate. And I just think it's his natural ability coming back to fruition after having a break in the summer and saying, okay, here we go, new season. And it sucks that he's got to go to the World Cup in the summer. And I hope to God that nothing happens to Zielinski.
Yeah.
I pray every single day that these players that are leaving come back healthy.
There's a lot is obviously riding on Kvaratskhelia and Peter Zielinski, obviously. And I think another person who is key to this team, you mentioned him briefly earlier, is a guy who's replacing a world-class player. Kalidou Koulibaly leaves, leaving a big hole in the defense, right? Rahmani's played okay up until this point, but then you get this new guy, Minjae Kim, and he jumps in. He's a monster of a defender. He showed today he's very good, making a huge save on, I think it was Salamakers or somebody, or Brahim Diaz at the end of the game. He's a pretty legit defender. Not saying he's Koulibaly. He's probably not going to replace him, but talk talk to us how he and the partnership with Rahmani has really blossomed so far through his first 7 games, both in Serie A and then Champions League.
Yeah, the first couple of games I saw a little bit of communication lapse between the two of them, but I really think that they've found their foothold, and Kim Minjae has just been a revelation as well. I mean, just 6'5", tall, gets in offense, gets up there, distributes the ball really well, wins a lot of balls, a lot of aerial duels, wins them a lot. Scored 2 goals from corner kicks already. You couldn't ask for a better start when it comes to, listen, Koulibaly, of all the players that left, Koulibaly hurt me the most because I have, I'm not the only guy. Napoli fans all know how valuable Koulibaly was to us and could still have been to us today. Like, I think, you keep Koulibaly, you have the same results. But I don't think, and I had a feeling, Kim would be integrated well, and like I said, we replace well. But I was not expecting the play that Kim has provided for us in place of Koulibaly. He really has stepped up. And again, like you said, Richard, there's no comparison to Koulibaly and what he's done for this club yet. But I think he's on his way. And I really think he's made a really good impression on Napoli fans so far. So, yeah, I mean, him and Rahmani are really, really gelling right now. And I think the defense as a whole is really just the best defense in the league, in my opinion.
Managers tend to have, sometimes it just like with their destinations, and then they just have this, it seems like they go somewhere and then they have a shelf life and then it gets stale and then they're gone. As Milan fans, that was a serious question that was being asked about at the time that Pioli was appointed, because you looked at all of his stops. Lazio, they have this burst, they do great, they qualify for the Champions League, and then they struggle, and then he's out of there. Inter, he gets them to play to a certain level, and then all of a sudden it gets stale and he's out of there. Fiorentina, he has to deal with the death of Davide Astori. He's trying to, work them through all of that, and he's out of there. Now he gets to Milan, a place where now he can hang his hat. Spalletti feels like it's kind of been the same resume for him. First time around at Roma, okay, it went well, but then eventually it just got old, and he was out of there. And then I think he went to Zenit, and then that didn't work out. That didn't work out so well. That lasted a couple of years. Then he comes back for Roma 2.0, and then Inter, and it gets stale along the way. Is Napoli where Spalletti can hang his hat? Because I kind of see some parallels here. Pioli is backed by a far more competent back room than any manager prior to him had. And it feels like management at Napoli have their house in order. Okay, they sell when it's time to sell. They move on when it's time to move on. And they replace with good players. And as a result, has Spalletti finally found his home and found where he can hang his hat and be there for a longer period of time?
I do think so, yeah. I know that Spalletti has a reputation of coming in and kind of changing things up a little bit. He came back to Roma and, before you know it, Totti's gone. He went to Inter, and before you know it, Icardi's gone. And I think what happened with Spalletti is he came into a Napoli team that was unlike any other team he walked into. I think this team was a decade of togetherness and brotherhood and camaraderie, and it was at the tail end of it. And Spalletti, in my opinion, gets things done for his teams. He gets his back office to, his front office, whatever you want to call it, to make the moves that he needs to suit his play, to suit his formation, to suit his style. And they do it and they're unapologetic about it. Dries Mertens, sorry, you can't play as much as you want to play, buddy. Koulibaly, sorry, we can't pay you that money, but we have this guy who's going to come in and play just as good as you have, and we're going to pay him a third of what you got, And I know a lot of that is office stuff, but Spalletti is a very big influence on that too. He's taken what he has and he's really flourished at Napoli. And I do believe that this is the place for him to express what he wants to express with the backing of a staff, of a back staff. He might have felt a little handcuffed at Roma when it comes to guys like Totti De Rossi and whatever the management situation was there. Pallotta, I think, was the guy in charge at that point. And then at Inter, right, there was the whole mess with the Chinese ownership then, and everything that was going on there. So when you have a little bit of stability, and a lot of Napoli fans will probably argue with me when I say stability, as a office management, when you come in to have stability and outright goals and the backing of these guys like ADL and of Giuntoli, then you have a method of success here. Napoli have not. This isn't an overnight thing. Napoli have been in Europe for the past 12 seasons. So Spalletti coming into a team that's already really good, that just needs a few things to work itself out, like mentality, like a good bench, some rest when we need it. A lot of these guys played so many minutes that they didn't have enough gas in the tank at the end of it. And now we have suitable replacements on the bench for every position, and Spalletti is the guy guiding the ship. And I was not on the Spalletti train when he was hired. I was very, very sympathetic to Gattuso. I wanted Gattuso to stay, and I couldn't have been more wrong. I think Spalletti came in with the knowledge that he has and a winning mentality that he has, and now it's got to stick around to the end of the season, because we saw last season it didn't work out. Once again, goes back to the mentality and to the the stamina of the team. Yeah. And not just on the pitch, the team in here, in the heart, in the in the locker room. You need to have this attitude all season long. You can't falter for a month in winter at the end of the season. You just can't do that. So hopefully this season Spalletti's got it down with these players. Now I'm not going to expect too much from it, but hey, it's going good right now, isn't it?
It is. And we know your feelings on how possibly the season could turn out. You mentioned Europe, been in Europe for a long time. What are your realistic expectations for Europe? Obviously, you're top of the group right now. You're like 2 games in, but you got to win the group at this point. But how far can Napoli go, do you think, with trying to win a Scudetto too? Eventually, which is the focus going to be? I would imagine the Scudetto, but what do you think?
And you see, and that's the thing that's happened ever since Juventus, their reign has ended. You've got teams that no longer, are in Europe that end up winning the Scudetto. Inter 2 seasons ago, Milan last season. They were knocked out of Europe at the group stage, right? I feel like those teams, with all due respect to you guys, needed that sole focus of the Scudetto to make sure they won that Scudetto. I don't know if Milan win the Scudetto had they not been, out of Europe altogether. The goal is to try to go as far as you can in both, isn't it? Yep. And maybe last season I would have said, it's probably best that we don't make it out of the Europa League group stages. Maybe the season before that as well. But this season, I really, really do think you can see Napoli making it to the knockouts and giving it a viable push for the Scudetto. I would be really happy just getting out of the round of 16 and into the quarterfinals, because Napoli have never done that before in the Champions League. And as far as the Scudetto goes, I mean, we all want to win that. Like that's priority number one.
Right.
All right.
And we'll see what happens. But I think we have the depth and we have a new mentality to make sure we go as far as we can in every competition.
Okay.
Excellent stuff. Excellent stuff, and an excellent win for your team, for Napoli. Now they're top of the table on goal difference over Atalanta, who we shall talk about now in their match against Roma. That's the best transition I can do there, guys. Sorry.
That was good enough, Frank.
Okay. All right, I'll just run through the lineups. Roma went with Rui Patricio, Mancini, Smalling, Ibanez in the back, Celik, and Spinazzola, the wingbacks, Cristante and Matic in midfield. It ended up being Zaniolo and Pellegrini supporting Tammy Abraham. Paulo Dybala was supposed to start, but got hurt in warm-ups. I think that's what I saw. So he pulled out. So that ended up being the team there. Atalanta side, Juan Musso in goal, Rafael Toloi, Meri Demaral, Martin Deron across the back, Hatibor and Mela in the wingback positions, Scalvini and Koopmeiners in the middle, Højlund flanked by Ederson and Pasalic. Is Gasparini just crazy? I mean, when you look at that lineup, Richard, I mean, is that what you thought?
Yeah, but what we've seen this year is that they've switched the mentality. Not even if you don't include this game, they've gone to a much more defensive mentality this year. And so, yes, even from the beginning, he's always had these crazy lineups, and they've always worked. It's for some reason they always work. When I saw the two lineups for this game come out, I thought, oh, Roma should have that easily because I'm confused with these lineup choices by Gasparini, but they seem to work for the most part.
What do you think, Rafa? I mean, for the last few years, we had this catchphrase here at Serie A Sitdown. We said Atalanta doing Atalanta things. That started here when they had Papu Gomez and Ilicic, and then they had all of this wonderful attacking play, and they just went out and buried everybody in their path and winning 4-5-0. And now all of a sudden, is Atalanta doing Atalanta things mean, okay, you get the ball. We're gonna sit back and defend, and we're gonna get the one that we need. I mean, it seems it's a complete, to me. I want to get your thoughts on what you see when you watch Atalanta play, because it's like a 180-degree shift from what we've been used to for the last few years.
It's really fascinating, isn't it? I mean, you gotta, like you mentioned, you got a team that were ruthless in attack, and now they can defend better than almost anybody in the league, and defend a lead, and gosh, you got to give credit to that guy, don't you, Gasparini, man? You just do. As much as I don't like him as a person, you really have to give him some real credit. This guy knows how to manage a club. He really does. And he's another case of managers finding their spot. He's been around also everywhere, and he's got a lot of really good players at his disposal. But you really thought that would be one of the teams that just kind of fell off the face of the earth again, right? Yeah. They didn't finish in a European spot last season. They really struggled. I know Zapata was hurt a lot of the season. I think he's still hurt, right? Or was re-injured, or I don't know why he wasn't on the field today. I as far as I could tell, he might be injured, but I could be wrong. But just looking at a lineup like that, not seeing players like Zapata, Ilicic, Malinovsky, on the starting 11, and you're like, wow, this team's gonna play Roma. But hey, they've been doing it all season so far, and now they played Roma, and here you go, 1-0, and the goal coming from a incredibly unlikely source, and the ability to protect that lead. It's just a new thing we've seen from this team that we haven't seen much before. I don't know how much of that has to do with no Europe as well, but I mean, you look at players they brought in like Lookman and this other guy that Højlund, that I can't even pronounce his name.
I think it's Højlund.
Højlund. Yeah, Højlund. And Juan Musso coming in too and being a little shaky. I think last season was a little shaky, right?
Yeah.
But now it just looks like these guys really have it under control. Darun is playing great again. Coop Miners, my goodness, Coop Miners is having a fantastic start to the season.
Yeah,
and yeah, just a lot of really good quality everywhere. I think Demiral is a great player. I also think Pasalic is a great player. Like I just think that this team has what it takes to make it back to Europe this season. Are they going to hold this, advantage at the top of Serie A all season long? Probably not, but for sure they're on the right track. Again, I question what might be if they were in Europe, but they don't have that. So
it seems like Gasperini is almost taking a page out of the old Mourinho handbook, where it's like, we'll play. I have the talent, but I'm gonna play defensive, and you try to beat me, and I'll get you on the counterattack, and we'll win 1-0, 2-0. Be fine with that. It's really interesting, and it's not. I mean, it's almost out of the blue. We saw glimpses of this when they had that deep Champions League run a couple years ago, where they lost to PSG. Similar in Champions League they did, but I agree with you. Like, would they have the same form if they were in Europe? And then two, you would expect this kind of form if you were in Europe, because you want to play a little bit defensive. You don't want to tire your guys out, but there is no Europe right now. So I don't know. It's working for them. Gasperini is a genius if it works out for him. But it's certainly odd. The lineup choices and then the complete 180 and what we're used to with the Atalanta doing Atalanta things. So
yeah, it's fascinating to me because we've seen teams that didn't have Europe to deal with and qualify, and they go out and they played a little more freely. Fiorentina is the example from last year. They played a more attacking brand and qualified for Europe that way. But at the same time, Italiano was also willing to be flexible tactically when he had to be in certain games. If he had to defend more, he was willing to bite the bullet and do that. He wasn't. We thought Gasperini all this time was just this stubborn manager that had a specific way he wanted to do things. And with no Europe, you would have thought, okay, they're just going to come out and just pile it on everybody they play. And they just haven't done that. And they have been a much better team defensively. Musso looks a lot better in the goal. They get the goal through Giorgio Scalvini, and let's just add him to the pile of guys that Atalanta dig up and nobody else thinks anything of them, but then they just excel when they play for Ledea. And then, assisted by another guy that, I would not have spared a thought for Rasmus Højlund if he wasn't playing for Atalanta. But here he is, and he sets him up. Scalvini finishes. Atalanta go ahead 1-0 in the 35th minute. Abraham missed a wide-open chance. In fact, Roma had 5 chances on target. Musso made 5 saves in this game. Atalanta go on winning 1-0. Richard, does it just come down to finishing now for Roma?
100%. 100%. We've been saying this like week in and week out. Like, they've been almost clearly the best team on the pitch every time, creating chance after chance, sometimes up to almost 20 chances a game, but they're not scoring goals. They haven't scored more than 2 goals, I think, in any game, and maybe one game. And it's the finishing. We keep saying week in and week out, and it's getting tired, for me at least, because you're saying once that dam breaks, it's going to be goals, and we haven't seen it yet. Will it happen? Sometimes, and it happens in history, where you have a team that's very offensively skilled, but cannot put the ball in the back of the net. They're snake bitten for whatever reason, and it lasts for a long time, sometimes the whole season. I don't know if we're going to have this at Roma, but this is a very talented team who can create chances like better than most of the teams in the league, but for whatever reason, they can't put the ball in the back of the net. Occasionally, Dybala gets a goal, or Abraham, or Zaniolo. Somebody gets a goal here and there, but they never come in bunches, and that's the infuriating part. Eventually, you get frustrated as an offensive team, and then you start doubting yourself, and then the play starts getting poor. We may have that with Roma if they extend this for long periods of time, but right now, that's the only thing I can explain is that they're creating, they just can't put the ball in the back of the net for whatever reason. I don't know.
Rafa, Roma, if you're to believe, if there are people that are into these expected goals per 90 minute kind of statistics, Roma's expected goals per 90 minutes in Serie A through 7 games is 2.05. So Based on that rationale, if they were performing to expectations, they should have 16, maybe 17 goals right now through 7 games. They only have 8.
Yeah, they only have 8 goals, and you'd expect Tammy Abraham to have more than 2 goals this season. Dybala got off to a slow start when it comes to the score sheet, but he's already got 3 goals, and Tammy still only has 2. And the thing is that it's not really coming from elsewhere, right? I mean, that's 5 of 8 goals right there between Dybala and Abraham. Cristante is the other one with 1, and then Smalling and Ibanez. Like, you don't even have your forwards or your attacking midfielders, scoring goals. So that is a problem. And is it Richard mentioned an old Mourinho type statistic, right? Mourinho, usually doesn't score a lot of goals in a match and defends small leads, but it's mind-boggling why Roma haven't gotten off to the way they have. Is it the end of the road for Mourinho? Is it I don't know. I just don't know. I feel like this team, with all the players that came in and all the noise that they made, should be doing a lot better than they are right now. And even in Europe, I know they won their game last week, but they lost their first game, and they should be steamrolling through this group in Europe too. So I don't know what it is. It's a little frustrating to see, because I would have liked to see Roma, kind of up there in the mix. And listen, it's not too late. It's only game 7, and they have a lot of time to figure this stuff out. But was signing Dybala the right thing to do? I don't know.
He's injured. Frank, you said 8 goals so far for Roma, right? In one of those games against Monza, they had 3 goals. So 5 goals in the other 6 games. That's
not getting it done.
No, it's not. And they've created chances every game. Every game they've created double-digit chances, yet they can't get the ball back in net. And it's gonna wane on the team when those chances don't go in and they blow leads or whatever. So I mean, they're okay, but offensively, it's just they can't get the ball in the net. And I don't know if it's gonna be a mind fuck if this continues on for longer.
I mean, and what is this on though, guys? I mean, Mourinho doesn't do the shooting. I mean, let's before people start talking about Mourinho, start putting the blame on him. I mean, you can look at it glass half full, saying, okay, we're 6th through 7 games, only scoring 8 goals. Eventually this problem's going to solve itself, and the points are going to just start pouring in, and we're going to make our charge up the table. That's what you think will happen with this Roma team. The quality's certainly there to do it. Belotti came in, got his first. I mean, albeit the team they played was horrible on Thursday, and they were a massive favorite to win. Yeah. But this is the question that we keep asking about Abraham. I mean, in a game, and this was a game environment that, when you look at how Roma are built, this does not suit Roma. Roma's not a possession superior team. Roma's a counterattacking team, like right now what Atalanta are. So when they have more of the ball, but I mean, at that same time, there's no excuse there, because they took 21 shots.
Yeah.
5 on target. They outshot Atalanta 21-4. Atalanta's only shot on target was the goal by Scalvini.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, is this are they unlucky? Because this is, I'd look at these statistics and I would say Roma probably, 1 shot on target for Atalanta. They score that. Maybe Roma 1-2-1, without looking at the score. But it's perplexing, because I think that in stretches in Roma's games, from what I've watched, there's really nothing wrong with what they're doing. It's just the finishing. And are they unlucky? I don't think they're quitting on Marino. I'm not buying that. But I think this normalizes. I got to think that at some point this normalizes, and they're scoring 2-3 goals a game, aren't they?
You would think. But Rafa mentioned something earlier that is curious. the pressure. The pressure with what they were assembled. They were assembled basically Avengers to put together, and there's all this pressure that you have to do well with the team that you got assembled. And maybe when they get in front of goal, it's expected that all these attacking players get double-digit goals, right? Zaniolo, Dybala, Abraham, Pellegrini, even if you want to. And when they get in front of goal, they just freeze up. They get the shots off, but they're not quality chances because they're not going in. Occasionally, you get a great goalkeeper save. We've seen them. Every game will have them, and we've seen them in Roma games where the goalkeepers make outstanding saves. But maybe the pressure of supposing to do well, or is that even an English word? Supposed to do well, gets to them when they're getting ready to score a goal, and that's when they freeze up. I don't know, but they're not scoring goals, and they are creating chances. So you would think it levels out, but I don't know.
Yeah. Rafa, I mean, are they unlucky?
Maybe they're unlucky in front of net. I might turn a little bit to favor Roma, and I know I just kind of lambasted them, but when you really think about it, they're 4 wins, a draw, 2 losses. The 2 losses came to Udinese and Atalanta, 2 teams that are Atalanta's tied for first with Napoli, and
Sure.
Udinese has 16 points, and we're leading the league for a few hours today.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, the teams they lost to are better than them right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Okay.
maybe they just need to find, like, when we come back from this break, they need to find that rhythm for goals. But again, I also have a lot. I feel like it comes down a lot to, and I know you said, Frank, and I respect this, that Mourinho is not taking the shots, but Mourinho does not normally have a team that scores all these goals and wins 4-5-0 all the time. So maybe defensively they need a little work. Maybe they have to get the first goal and try to defend better, or like I said, Tammy Abraham really needs to be more clinical in front of net. 2 goals at this stage.
Yeah.
For expected striker like him, I was under the impression that with Dybala coming in, Abraham might be like Capocannoniere this season. And it's just not working out at the moment. Yet they've won 4 games, and only draw once.
Could be worse.
We'll see.
Right?
Yeah, it could be a lot worse. It sure could.
Okay. I mean, I think that's probably the best way we can recap Roma and Atalanta. Roma were all over Atalanta. Abraham missed a really easy chance. Atalanta win the match 1-0, and Atalanta are just playing totally different from what we've grown to expect from them over the years. And then Roma, just again, the finishing continues to be what hinders them and keeps them from having the upside to be getting more points. So let's batch the rest of match week 7 here, gentlemen. It started on Friday with Salernitana playing Lecce. Asan Cisse, don't get in a foot race with this guy, you'll lose. 43rd minute puts Lecce in front by a 0-0. Then Joan Gonzalez own goal in the 55th minute. And then a goal of the week candidate, 83rd minute, Gabriel Strefezza scoring there to give Lecce their first win of the season. Teams getting their first win this week here on Match Week 7. Lecce is one of them. We'll get to another famous one here shortly. Bologna hosting Empoli. Bologna, 61% possession, 16 shots. They lose 1-0. And they lose at the hand of Empoli.
Thiago Motta, manager, right?
Yep. Thiago Motta now stepping in, managing Bologna. Filippo Bandinelli. They should go back to the guy that was the interim. He won a game for them. So, but Bandinelli getting the goal for Empoli, 3 points for them. Spezia, Sampdoria. This ends 2-1 for Spezia. Somehow Spezia win. I don't think they're altogether all that good, but somehow they win. I think it has to do with Luca Gotti's a very good manager and knows, and another one of these guys that gets a lot out of what little he has. So Abdelhamid Sabiri, my boy, one of my touts, one of my guys I've been touting since preseason. Goal of the week candidate there in the 11th minute. Just a minute later, Jason Murillo decides to help out Spezia for some reason, makes it 1-1. And then Mbala and Zola in the 72nd minute, winning the match there for Spezia. 8 shots on target for Sampdoria in this game. So props to Dragowski for his performance in goal for Spezia. Torino 0, Sassuolo 1. Augustin Alvarez, hey, another one of my touts. 93rd minute, scoring his first goal for Sassuolo. Torino, I mean, balanced match. Torino had a little bit more of the possession, but Sassuolo finding ways to win and winning this one. So big win for the Neroverdi on the road at Torino. Sunday, if you woke up early enough, you woke up to I don't know if this is a shock anymore with the way they're playing. Udinese's done it again, 3-1 over Inter. Nicola Barella with a great free kick in the 5th minute. It's a goal of the week candidate, and then Milan Skriniar with an own goal in the 22nd minute. It just goes from bad to worse for Filippo Inzaghi's men. Stays this way throughout the game.
Filippo Inzaghi. You said Pippo Inzaghi. I mean Simone
Inzaghi. I'm sorry. Filippo Inzaghi's going to get a team promoted to Serie A, and then he's going to get sacked. We lost Raffa.
He'll be back.
Okay. So anyway, Udinese's playing some pretty nasty ball right now. I mean, they're not winning these by flukes. And then on a set piece, on a free kick, on a corner kick, Gerard Deulofeu to Yaka Bihol. Yeah, I don't know who he is either, but he puts Udinese. I swear, some of these clubs are just pulling guys off the street and just say play. Yeah. And maybe that was the case here. So Bihol scores, and then in the 93rd minute, Tolga Arslan ending it for Udinese. Another big win for the Friuli, getting there. Lazio coming off of a what was that in Denmark against Midtjylland in Europa League, bouncing back nicely to thrash Cremonese 4-0. Ciro Immobile in the 7th minute, and then follows that up with a penalty in the 21st. Sergej Milinkovic-Savic getting his first goal of the season just before halftime. Pedro in the 79th minute. Fiorentina 2, Hellas Verona 0. It would be Jonathan Ikone. Great individual goal there in the 13th minute. And Nicolas Gonzalez in the 90th, closing it out for the Viola. Now, finally, Monza Juventus, Allegri in. This game, I'm watching it with my son this morning, and I'm just sitting here saying, I just can't watch this Juventus team. Apparently, Angel Di Maria can't even play for it. Found a reason to just get himself out of there after 40 minutes. I mean, if there was ever a fuck this red card, that was it. But Di Maria is known for his temper. So I go from playing for PSG and playing this wonderful attacking football and scoring goals at will to now having to be in this setup. Yeah. Okay. So he gets shown a red card, and I actually think he did that on purpose. I don't think he wanted to play anymore. But I digress.
Red, I think it was a really harsh red. Yes, it was yellow at minimum, but I think it was harsh to give a straight red.
He elbowed him in the heart.
Yeah, not in the face.
I don't know. Do you?
That's a red. That's a straight red. That looked like he wanted to do that. That looked like he had finally gotten to I don't want to play in these tactics and on this team right now. I'm leaving. And he did it, and he knew what he was doing, and he got a red. I swear he'll never admit that, but that's just what I'm going with. And then it's Christian Gudkjær scoring for Monza in the 74th minute, assisted there by Patrick Cluria to give Monza a famous win, 1-0 over Juventus. Let's start, Rafa, with two managers that are not going to be getting a lot of sleep for a while. One sleeps fine because he's never going to apologize for the way he plays, and that's Allegri. But Simone Inzaghi is going to be losing a lot of sleep here for the next couple of weeks. Udinese hammered them, and then Juventus under Allegri, and Allegri was not on the touchline. He was banned, but He was there in the stadium. They lose to Monza. I mean, it's like Inter's having all of these struggles on the one end, and then Juventus, just when you think they can't find a new low to sink to, here we are, this 1-0 defeat to Monza. Your thoughts on Inter and Juventus? Let's start there, gentlemen. Rafa, I'll go first with you. It's amazing to see these two teams struggling the way they are.
It really is. There's something going on at Inter. Simone Inzaghi is, for me, on the hot seat. You can't go from winning a Scudetto to pulling off a really good season, finishing, second at the last day of the season, to getting your star, striker back in Lukaku, and to having all these expectations in the league to have a start like this. This was as poor as you can get for Inter, in my opinion. Udinese, obviously, off of the 4-0 win against Roma, and the way they've been playing is just out of control. I mean, I almost kind of want to give Inzaghi a pass for this weekend. And maybe I'm giving a little too much credit to Udinese, but look what they've done. They've beaten Roma 4-0 and Inter 3-1. I mean, this is something that, you can't deny, that Udinese's got such good players. They also replace really well. They find these talents from, their other clubs that they own, and bring them in, and they just work. It works. And I think Udinese was always going to be, a really tough team to beat this season, but who would have expected them to be where they are? So I think for that reason, I think Inzaghi gets a pass for this weekend alone. But if this continues, I don't think he makes it past, Christmas. I just don't. They don't look inspiring. They don't look dangerous. They don't look anything like they did in the last two seasons. They just don't. As far as Allegri goes, I mean, this should be it. This right here should be it. You lose to PSG in the Champions League. It's expected. You got one back in the second half. You looked a little bit better. Okay, right? But then you go ahead and draw with Salernitana, right? And I don't care anything about the VAR call at the end of the game. Juventus should never have been down 2-0 to Salernitana at the half. They just should not have been.
Right.
Okay. So they got lucky to get to level for stoppages. They got lucky. Okay. Allegri needs to go. I mean, I know that's a big contract. I know that's going to be a lot to try to get, off the books, what have you. But Allegri needs to go. I think time has come. I don't think he should have went back to Juventus in the first place. I really don't. I never thought it was going to work, and they just don't have what it takes right now. You got Di Maria, who's getting sent off. You've got, stupid yellow cards in Milik taking off his shirt after the goal that was taken. Why would you get yourself sent off? I know you got passion and you're happy about that. You got the game winner, supposed game winner, but you're on a yellow card. Why are you taking your shirt off? It just doesn't seem like, the mentality is there. I think there's a serious role reversal of Napoli and Juventus, where we didn't have the mentality before, and now they don't have the mentality. They just don't. It's boring. It's uninspiring. It's lackluster. And, Juventus should never be losing to Monza. This is Monza's first victory in Serie A ever. It's against Juventus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like this is trivia question stuff. Like I don't know. I just, I mean, listen, I'm happier than a pig in shit about it. Trust me. But when it comes to where this club is like what happened to the system that ran that Juventus all those years? What happened to it? It's gone. It's gone. They've replaced like really poorly, in my opinion. You never bring guys back that didn't work out. So never would have brought Pogba back.
Yep.
I think Di Maria is already on the decline of his career. Never should have brought him in. You should have focused solely on Vlahovic. They can't play the ball to Vlahovic anymore either. And Vlahovic just doesn't seem like the Fiorentina Vlahovic. So what's going on? What's happening? I don't know. But I think right away, it's got to be Allegri out. He's got to go. I'd be more surprised to see Allegri stay this whole season than I would if, Davide Nicola got sacked. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I said that wrong. I'd be less surprised to see him stay the full season. He should be fired.
Should. I don't know.
Richard, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think differently about both these managers. I think all three of us would love to see Allegri stay in as long as possible, but I don't. Of the two, I think he is the one who is the most likely to go first. Though Inter can be very shoot from the hip sometimes. I think Interisti and Inter in general need to relax because yes, they are playing worse than they were last year, right? And they've lost a lot more now than they had last year at this point. But look at the teams they lost to. Lazio is a pretty decent team. Milan, Bayern Munich, and now Udinese, Udinese is surprising everybody this season, right? Udinese is playing really well. They're a good team. So he should get a pass. Should they have losses? No. It could have been draws, possibly. But he's got a good team. They're not playing well yet, but it's still too early to say Inzaghi out. Now, maybe a month from now, we're still doing the same thing. Okay, I get it. But it's just, I think it's too early for Interisti to be saying Inzaghi out. Yeah, the Handanovic thing is stupid. He needs to be gone. It needs to be Onana. Onana's clearly the better goalkeeper between the two.
I agree with that.
The man can challenge all game long against Udinese. But Inzaghi still has a much better potential going forward than Allegri. Allegri, dinosaur. None of his tactics are working. The team doesn't seem to be responding to him. I just think, how much longer can it go? You could probably get a pass this week because technically he wasn't on the sideline, and Di Maria is going to be the focus. But you do it's a stinker. You lose to Monza, and who they play next week? Are they, any more losses, it's just going to be out. If they get eliminated from Champions League and or another loss in Serie A, he should be gone. He should be gone now already. But I can't see a situation where they keep losing and Nedved and company keep him. I don't. I wouldn't be surprised if Inter are stupid and irrational and get rid of Inzaghi too soon, because I think it is too soon. But of the two managers, I think Allegri needs to go. It's clearly not working for him or his fans or his team or anything. He can't adapt. He plays one style, and when teams figure out that one style, he has no plan B.
Yeah.
Inzaghi does. They just haven't been performing well. So I don't know.
Juventus play Bologna on the 2nd and then Milan on the 8th.
Oh, if they lose to Thiago Motta, goodness, he needs to be fired.
Well, they host Bologna, and then but then after they host Bologna, I believe they play Maccabi Haifa.
Oh, right.
In Champions League, and then they'll play Milan. So,
when do they play Udinese? I want to see that.
4-0.
Well, look. I think that, and this is not in any way defending Allegri or Inzaghi, but I think when you just take a look at how these teams get set up, and you can, what do you got at Milan right now between Pioli with Maldini and Masada and the front office? You have harmony. Okay, Spalletti has harmony with his team at Napoli. Gasperini and Atalanta have always been in lockstep for how they want to assemble their squad. Mourinho to a degree. Sarri at Lazio, even though they need better fullbacks. So Inter and Juventus to me are the two teams that they arguably have the most capital, but the owners are saying, I want these guys. We're going to bring in these guys, and you're going to have to figure out how to make it work. Versus the other teams are saying, and same thing with Fiorentina and Italiano. Camiso with Italiano. What do you need? How do you want, how do you want it? What do you need to be successful? We'll try to go out and find it for you. The scouts and everybody like that. And I think that part of the problem is disconnect. Inter and Juventus are the two teams out of the top 8, let's say, that are still throwing crap at the wall and hoping something will stick. Okay. Sassuolo even have good cooperation, players that they recruit and bring in. They move on from guys and then they bring in new guys, and they're in cooperation with Dionisi. So I think that there's some of that going on, but at the end of the day, who's going to be the scapegoat? Allegri and Inzaghi. And Allegri's tactics are horrible. They're horrible. They're old school. I tweeted it. I said, watching this Juventus hurts my eyes. You know what? I wore my Milan jersey. Okay. I have a Juventus jersey from Lippi's Juventus from the 90s. I thought it was a cool jersey. The Sony mini disc and that sort of thing. But that team, there was a time when the Juventus team just battered you and you couldn't do anything about it, and they didn't just want to score 1 or 2. They wanted to score 3 or 4. When they had, the team that won the Champions League in 96, believe it or not, Juventini, they did win a Champions League. I saw it. I watched the game when they beat Ajax. Ravanelli, Vialli, Del Piero. And then they had wonderful midfielders, Souza, Deschamps, Conte. They had good defenders. I mean, the goalkeeper, Peruzzi, it's not somebody that I would want to pick a fight with in a bar. He just looks like
that team, right?
What's that?
Ciro Ferrara was on that team.
Ciro Ferrara, yes. I mean, and then they move on from Vialli. They move on from Ravanelli. And what do? They go and get Boksic. They go and get Zidane. Okay. They just go and they didn't deserve to win. Presidente 95 was when Milan lost to Ajax. 96 was when Juve beat Ajax. Okay, and
great Ajax team too, both of them.
A fantastic Ajax team. But anyway, so I see disconnect, and I see the managers being the scapegoats, and I see that Inter will be quicker to hook Inzaghi than Juventus will be to hook Allegri, even though it should be the other way around. So, Richard, Udinese, they can't, can they? But look at this.
They can't win the Scudetto.
They beat. Look who they've beaten: Fiorentina, Roma, and Inter.
Yeah,
and pretty convincingly too. And they competed against Milan on opening day. They can't, can they?
They can't win the Scudetto. They can make Europe though. What part of Europe? We'll see. Is it Conference League? Is it Europa League? Is it Champions League? I don't think Champions League. I don't think Europa League either. But this is a good team. They're going to be a pain in the ass for every single team in the league, including Napoli, including Milan again when they play them against later. They've already shown it Inter. They're going to be the same thing with Juventus whenever they play them. Atalanta, it doesn't matter. This is a hard team to play. So Teal, we saw this at the end of last season, right? So Teal got his team. They figure out a way that they're playing for him. They fight hard for him, and they make it difficult. They got playmakers on the team, right? Odoji who plays on the team. We hope he plays on the national team. He didn't get the call up this time. We'll get to that in a minute. But they got talented players on the team. They got a big man up top and Beto. They got this wonderful playmaker in Deulofeu who's just doing everything this season, it seems like, last season too. And they can do it. And so Teal is having a breakout season as a manager in terms of what he's doing so far. I think they can make this last. Are they going to be top of the table, third all season long? No. But they'll be in the top half. And they're going to make life extremely difficult for every team in NFL and Serie A. So do not be surprised if you see their name at the fighting for a European spot at the end of the season.
Raffa, Udinese, this is I think we're just all going to just sit back and enjoy this for as long as it goes on, right?
This is not your grandfather's Udinese, right? I mean, but look at Udinese. I mean, they've been in Serie A for what's this now, 25 years running, right? Are they the one team besides Milan and Inter who have not been relegated? I mean, who they're constantly here, and they constantly, they sell off and then they bring in new players. And I think it goes under the radar because it's not an Atalanta performance, where Atalanta were so, back up from Serie B, Serie A, Serie B, Serie A, and then they finally got to where, that their youth would let them. Plus, they bought some players, they invested a little bit in the club. But look at Udinese, they rebuilt the Dacia, they redid it, and slowly but surely they've been, always a tough opponent, always. And I think it's also, another indication of right manager, right time. Sotil's got them playing really well, and they have some real good quality. And another big thing about Udinese is they kept hold of Delofeu, who has been playing great since he joined them 2 seasons ago. Just great. This was a guy who was everywhere you could think he could be and just couldn't find a home. And here he is at Udinese just doing things. 2 assists today. Just a real baller, and I don't know about Champions League. I posed the question that which 2 teams, if it were Atalanta and Udinese again in the Champions League, which 2 teams that made it from last season are going to not make it this season. Obviously right now it's Inter and Juventus, but that was just for fun. I don't expect Udinese to qualify for the Champions League, but I could see them winning, a Europa League spot. I don't see why not. I really don't. I mean, these teams don't have to worry about Europe right now. So I think the sky's the limit for them. Hopefully they don't get injured. You know what I mean? Maybe injuries might cause a setback here and there. But it's going to be fun to see. Yes, they're going to be a pain in the ass for sure. And I don't really look forward to playing against them, to be honest with you.
Yeah. This is not Toto Di Natale's Udinese, right? That team was fantastic. They made Champions League. They're not that good, but they're still good. They're still pain in the ass, like we've been saying.
It remains to be seen, Richard. Yeah, yes. It remains to be seen. We'll see because these guys they're playing together, and I'm telling you, that third goal against Inter, I swear to you, I knew it was happening. I said this is going to be the goal to seal the deal, and that header from
Arslan.
Who was it? Arslan. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like they play so together and they flow, and when they're counterattacking, they're all running up, and when they're defending, they're all running back. They're nonstop. I love it.
Yeah.
Fun to see them play as a unit. I mean, I think these are the biggest takeaways from these batch of games here, gentlemen. I mean, Fiorentina bouncing back after their embarrassment in Bisaxa here. Lazio after their embarrassment at Michelin, getting quality wins against 2 teams that are going to be. I mean, Cremonese we think is going to be a relegated team by season's end. Hellas Verona, wow, they're not good. I mean, and it's just like they've lost some players, obviously, but you think there's enough talent there for them to be a little bit more competitive than this. I don't think there's much else here we gotta go on about. So, this will probably be the spot, Rafa. I know you got to get going, so we're gonna give you a chance here before we let you go to give you the floor, allow you to have a chance to promote anything you'd like to promote.
Well, let me just thank you guys again for allowing me to come on. And I'm sorry I couldn't stay for the rest of it. My favorite part of the show is coming up, and I would love to have been a part of it, but I do have to run. So I'll be trying to keep an eye on the, I'll look at the replay and I'll laugh hysterical with you guys at Calcio Twitter. But Far from Vesuvius, man, there's a real resurgence in that account. We've been a little stagnant lately, but I've seemed to have been able to rally the troops, and we've got new shows on the program. Obviously, the Raff and Raff rant is the main flagship show right now, live every Monday, 8:30 on YouTube, and then you can catch it on the Far From Vesuvius network of podcasts. And then Henry Bell and Michele Borelli. Michele Borelli is at Napoli Tickets. He runs Get Napoli Tickets. He helps fans who are traveling to Naples get tickets to Napoli matches. He also does away matches. So he just helped a client of mine who was going to Italy get Lazio Napoli tickets. So him and his girlfriend went to Lazio Napoli at the Olimpico. It was awesome. Can't recommend him enough. But him and Henry at Henry Bel Calcio, in the shadow of Vesuvio. It's a great show where Michele lives in Naples, speaks such great English, and it's really, truly the only podcast in English that has, a guy right on the streets of Naples giving the perspective of the fans of Naples. It's more than just an analytics show. It's a show about almost everything you can find in Napoli. And then Henry and Kirsten Schluitz, who just put out an article that made ESPN, they do From End to Eye, which is a look back at Napoli history. So it's like a short podcast for, filled with historical stuff about Napoli. It was great. Henry and I are going to try to finish up our Maradona series during the World Cup, and Ken has started Cafe with Ken on Saturday mornings. We're really busy, really, really busy, and it's great to see. And obviously, like I said, I got to shout out my boy Ralph Pizarro for the Napoli rant. He and I are still at that. The show is gaining a lot of traction. At Napoli Rant on Twitter, please follow us and come say hi. Check us out every Monday if you'd like, 8:30. And yeah, I mean, aside from that, I'm coaching the kids' Little League. I'm sponsoring their teams, and I'm running a family and a business, and it's a lot. It's a lot. I'm going through a lot right now, but it's all good because big things are coming for us. So
good for you.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Awesome.
Good for you. But you're always welcome on the Serie A Sitdown. We enjoy having you, Raffa.
You guys are my
great
favorite.
Stuff from you and great insight on Napoli too. Yeah, it's exciting to see how they're performing, and good to have you with us again. And I'm sure we're going to have you on again real soon.
Pleasure. I would love to come on anytime you guys need me.
Thank you, Raffa.
All right. Ciao.
Ciao. That was Raffa. He's one of our best guests.
Yeah.
So
we haven't so much. I think he's the leader in the clubhouse in terms of the caps.
It's still Mark Neal, I think.
Mark still? Wow.
I think we had Mark on like 10 times or something like that.
Look at Mark.
So
hope he's doing well.
All right. I just gave In the Shadow of Vesuvio a follow as well as Henry Bel Calcio. Yes. At Henry Bel Calcio. So those are it's at Shadow of Vesuvio if you're looking for it. So go ahead and give that a follow per what Raffa was discussing. So looking forward to seeing what they produce and what they discuss as far as all things Napoli. So the 30 call-ups. Let's move on to that, Richard.
All right. Yeah. There they are. Hey.
Oh, you found them. Okay.
I found them.
Happy for Providel. I think he earned it. Where'd you go? There you are. So,
nobody needs to see me.
Looking at the goalkeepers, I think it's going to be good that he gets into that kind of environment. But, I mean, this is Donnarumma starting, and you might even see Merit get a game during this break. Your thoughts on the goalkeepers?
Yeah, obviously Donnarumma and Moret makes sense. Providel and Bricario, I think, are fantastic call-ups. Definitely deserve their opportunities. Will they play? We'll see. But I mean, yeah, I'm good with the call-ups for the goalkeepers.
Now, Italy will play England in the Nations League. That is on the 23rd. And then I believe, yep. And then they are at Hungary on the 26th.
I'm just curious with everything going on in England now with the Queen's passing. Will this game get affected at all?
Well, the game's in Italy.
Still, I know a lot of things going on now with security. I know that there was something going on with the Rangers not being able to travel, or so. I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully the game goes on, and I'm sure it will, and it'll be a good contest, good challenge for the Azzurri.
Yeah, I would imagine they're well past the mourning period. So I think that this game is going to go on. So looking at the defenders, Acerbi, Bastoni, Bonucci, Di Lorenzo, Di Marco, Emerson, Gatti, Luis Felipe, Mazzocchi, and Toloi. I'm so happy for Mazzocchi. We've been talking about him now for a few weeks, and for him to get his chance, I think, is really exciting. I want him to get a game at left back on one of these in one of these Nations League games and see how he does, because I think he, and this is not exaggeration. I strictly believe this. Italy at the Euros were very, very effective because they had a Spinazzola that was playing with great form. I think that Mazzocchi is a Spinazzola, but probably a better dribbler and a better take-on guy. So please play him at left back in one of these games. That's all I ask for out of this group. And please don't play Bonucci.
Yeah, same thing with Acerbi. Don't need to see Acerbi, honestly. Gatti, good call. I'm glad to see him up there. But yeah, for the most part, good. Mazzocchi was obviously the big one that I'm glad to see him get a call up. This defense honestly kind of scares me. Obviously, the wingbacks I'm okay with, right? Di Lorenzo, Di Marco, Emerson. But some of these guys like Bonucci, Acerbi, Bastoni recently, Toloi. I'm not so sure about that, but we'll see. I mean, as long as they play a good, cohesive 4-back or 3-back, whatever system Mancini wants to do these days, that's the main goal. But
right,
yeah, who else can they put though? I don't know.
Right. So let's see what happens with that. My ideal center back pairing when I look at this, Bastoni and because I don't think the form on the rest of these, on any of these other guys is great.
Gatti, maybe?
Probably. Might as well, right?
Yeah. I think the consensus in the chat is that Mancini is not on the team, so that's only good news.
Yep. So you can't, so that was smart. Let's go to the midfielders: Barella, Cristante, Jorginho, Pellegrini, Tonali, Pobega, and Verratti. I mean, I think this is Jorginho, Barella, Verratti until somebody else cracks this.
Sure.
So Cristante will come on and be a substitute in key situations. Tonali, I would like to see get some pitch time, but I think that Mancini's set on his midfield. There's a chance Tonali comes on as a substitute and has a role in this game. But that's kind of where I'm at with the midfield. Yeah,
I mean, Pobega, though I like to see him there because he's a Milanisti. It's great, but I think Udogie is missing. I think Miretti from Juventus is missing. Those couple of guys I'd like to see on the team, as opposed to maybe Pobega for his first try. And yeah, I mean, overall, it's a solid midfield. And like you said, the main three are going to be the main three or main four with Pellegrini. Are going to be who they are until someone supplants them. But yeah, overall, it's decent.
Udogie is Italian national?
Yep.
Okay, good. Okay, and then on the attackers, Cancellieri, Gnonto, Grifo. Glad Grifo's in. Grifo's been in really good form for Freiburg. Immobile, Politano, Raspadori, Scamacca, and Zerbin. I think we're in trouble at these positions. Grifo has to start, doesn't he?
Scamacca scored over the weekend, but
he's not playing a lot.
No.
We're in trouble in these spots. I mean, when you think about some of the injury, I mean, Berardi's hurt. He's gonna jam Immobile in there again, hoping that he does something. I think you just turn the page and say it's time for Scamacca to have his chance. But then Scamacca goes to a place where he doesn't play all the time. And Zerbin, just a weird call up. I think that this is just a list of selections. Grifo, Immobile, Politano, as disgusting as it sounds, according to Sanjar. Okay, that's fine. George is asking formation. I think they play 4-3-3. That's what Mancini is going to play. He doesn't want to play anything else.
Yeah. Stubborn in that regard.
What do you think of this attack? This is actually kind of disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, you could do the Napoli attack, right? Zerbin, Politano, and Raspadori. But no, I think I would do, I would like to see Grifo. I don't think Zerbin should be on this team, honestly. He hasn't done anything for me yet.
He's there because of injuries.
Right. So I like to see Grifo, if not him, Gnonto. But definitely Politano and Raspadori, maybe the holding or the false 9, really. But or Politano, Raspadori, Scamacca, something like that. I don't necessarily want to see Immobile, but he probably will get the start.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm with you. I think this is of the 4 groups, this is the group that worries me probably the most outside of the center backs.
Yeah. Yeah, the center backs and the attack is where we're going to struggle. I like how we are on the fullback positions. I like where we're at in the midfield and in the goalkeeper position. We're going to come up with some crazy ways to score goals. I think that's just how it's going to go over these next couple of games. So
play like Atalanta. Defensive.
Might have to. You might have to.
Catenaccio coming back.
Yep. Catenaccio at its very best, right? So
yeah. England's going to be chomping at the bit to prove that they should have won the Euros over us, and they're going to try to come and cut our throats.
They played each other since then. It was the when they played in England, I think. Let's look. I've got that right here. Yeah, it was 0-0 in England last year, just June 11th. So England outshot us 12-8, and now it's a home game for us. So we'll see how that goes. So that's the other thing. I mean, they started Luca Pellegrini on the left side up front. Or not Luca, Lorenzo Pellegrini on the left side up front for Italy. Mancini did. So that's another possibility.
Yeah.
But it's going to be 4-3-3, George. And then Anthony, I see that it's your birthday on when Italy play England. So hopefully they win it for you. Hopefully they take it down.
Happy early birthday.
Happy early birthday, sir. That's right. Maybe your son will be born the same day as Anthony.
Maybe.
You never know. So, anyway. All right, so that's our wrap-up on Italy. And now let's move on to the world's most popular hashtag game on this marathon edition of Serie A Sitdown. We really didn't mean this. Who won Calcio Twitter? Richard, lead us off.
All right, leading the way in the nominations is, of course, The Big Show. And so the original tweet was from Adamo Luciano. Says, of course, Serie A is rigged against Juventus. Always has been, always will be. So why did Agnelli rig it more by making Allegri the manager of this team? And then Nerazzurri says, we're excited. Crack pipe.
He's going to that a lot lately. That's kind of been his that's kind of what he's been going to. Okay, so at Busted Calcio, non-Juve Serie A fans, when Juve gets fucked by the refs.
And it just goes on and on. It's beautiful.
Leader in the clubhouse. Busted Calcio. Yes. Well played.
All right, moving on next. This is a good one here. Comes from Magnifico Facayo. And let me play with the audio. Control V12. Allez, faites! Puts both Magnon and Kalulu to sleep. Funny sound effects.
Strange. Getting creative. Calcio with Julian nominated IFTV. Getting married is nice, but the 3 points is nicer.
It's a Milan win, and the groom loves it. All right. So Rajat nominates this one. Comes from Tom Tanner. Let me get the audio on this. All right. So this is the man. Oh, mute this. So no one. And then the man who first decided to wank off a cow. Listen. Milik! Oh, all right.
I still think Busted Calcio's in the league here.
Okay.
In the lead here. So, all right, moving on. The Big Show. Dusan Vlahovic, beat Benfica. Amazing skills, goals, and assists. Enjoy.
Oh, I'm gonna cut the song off just so we don't get a copyright strike. But oh my goodness. Next coming in it says Zigmu, but originally it said Europa League, and it said Hi Juventus as Europa League.
Yeah.
So it's pretty. After they lose to Benfica, correctly called by Moi.
Yep. Jerry Mancini is in with an entry. Tears of joy of not playing under Allegri anymore. So there's what appears to be Dybala.
Yeah. All right. So Pardo, rigore per Milan, Interisti. Huh? Conspiracy theory. There it is.
All right. Moving on. Maldini telling PL clubs how much Salamakers is worth after scoring back-to-back in Champions League.
More than that.
10?
More than that.
50?
A lot more than that.
150?
A little bit less.
140?
122.
122 million for Salamakers.
That's at Wanderoy _.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
That is
All
wonderful.
right.
That's well played. I'm still going for busted Calcio. I think, Richard. We got some interesting choices though.
Yes. Okay. This one comes from Pete, the Inter dude. All right. I'll play the sound here on this.
That's why he's the GOAT. The GOAT. Sometimes maybe good. Sometimes maybe shit.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Look how they mess with my boy.
It was perfect. Perfect.
This motherfucker don't miss.
No, he's fucking good.
That motherfucker don't miss, man.
Oh, let's go. That's class.
Was on it. He's the best football player in the world.
Oh my God, my insides are on fire. No, please, no more, no more.
La caca.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Oh. And those are the Inter players.
We have a new leader.
Oh.
All right. Romagnoli versus Midtjylland from Uncle Sharma.
Everybody going by him. And there was another one. Original tweet was from this one, and it was Romeo Agressi trying to fend off the Juventini after that loss to Benfica. Same thing. So both are good.
All right. Let's see here. So we've got. What's the next one?
All right. So this is a long third. Okay. So originally started by IFTV saying Napoli have the best midfield in Italy. Tony says something. It's been 6 games. They do this every year. Say we're told to talk about the first 8 games, and he goes, Napoli if the season ended after 6 games. 38 Scudetti.
Where are you here? I lost you.
Oh, that was Big Show.
What's the date on that?
Rodrigo Bentancur on September 17th nominated.
Rodrigo Bentancur, September 17th. Well, I got some September 16th ones here, but that were from Pruibus user, but it is okay. Okay, here we are. Got it.
All right.
Yeah, I saw that one. Yep, Napoli the season ended after 6 games. All right, so Apex Crafter is nominating Inter. At Inter is in my soul. Let Inzaghi cook. He's making something special.
I'm going to take Velveeta, a whole block, and you're just going to cut it right on.
Oh, dear God.
Oh, God.
Wow.
A hot dog inside a shell.
That looks really nice. Okay, great.
Look at the way it all fits that
Yeah,
way.
it's beautiful, right? And you take milk.
Milk.
Shake it.
Oh.
What the fuck is this?
Lasagna?
Make sure you cover the pasta, because that's how the pasta is going to
Oh, it's pasta.
Oh, yeah.
Pop that right in.
Let's see what then it looks
You're
like.
going to cook the milk.
Look at this.
Okay. And
Yum.
Yum. That's disgusting. That's disgusting. All right, moving on. Art Vandelay. I haven't heard him in a while. And so this is Sir, a fan just screamed Allegri vaffanculo, and then Andrea Agnelli, says this.
I have a problem. What are you talking about?
You're in the parking lot.
You stay here. You stay here with Stephanie. You take me to him. Take me to the son of a bitch. Take me to him. Come on. Go.
Take me to the son of a bitch.
Go. Where's the son of a bitch?
That is good.
Where is he?
That is good.
Oh.
All right. Now we've got at Yanimo. We both said Napoli merda.
Oh, there's one before that. Another Art Vendele.
I'll let you come back. I'll let you do that one
fair
then.
Enough.
Okay. I'm trying to understand what this one is about. We've got. Who is that? That's Nainggolan.
Nainggolan.
We both said Napoli merda. And who's the other guy?
That's Yanimo. That's Busted Calcio tweets on Milan Weekly Pod. He's always on there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. This is before.
Oh, there he is. Yeah. I almost forgot what he looked like.
I did too. I was like, oh, that's Nainggolan. I forgot about him.
All right. So there was another entry from Tony Malasse.
Yes, there was. Nominated by Presidente. And Art Vendele says, losing to a club Berlusconi and Galliana made up just to pass the time at old age. Taking shots at Juve.
All right. So I think we're down to... Let's see here. Where's that?
Peach?
At the Interdude. and
then,
I think we're also Nerazzurri for the Dusan Vlahovic entry.
Yeah.
And finally the Busted Calcio.
With the celebrating.
Where did I put that?
Oh, that's tough.
We got to pull it up. Hold on.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the tough ones. Do some Vlahovic. That was funny too. I like the peach one at the Interdude.
What's that?
I like the peach at Interdude.
All right, let me play that real quick. Play that for us real quick.
Yeah. Let me get to that tab. All right, here. Where is it? There he goes.
Look at him.
Let's start from the beginning.
That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT! Sometimes it may be good, sometimes it may be shit.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Look at him, my boy.
It was perfect. This motherfucker don't miss. No, he's fucking good. That motherfucker don't miss, man.
Oh, let's go! That's class!
On it, he's the best football player in the world.
Oh my God, my inside!
The Correa and Dzeko.
La caca.
La caca.
Yes, okay. We're going with that.
Oh my goodness.
We're going with that. All right. Let me pull that up here. Interdude has won Calcio Twitter for this week. While I go ahead and crown him the winner here over social media, Richard, say some things to the people.
Well, let me read some of the comments first. Dominic says, not bragging, but I've eaten Velveeta lasagna to be nice. Who cuts cheese with scissors, says George. Presidente says, Jan was in Milano to watch the game today. Yes. Anthony says, I'll give it to Art. And then he also says, for the Juve video with Vince McMahon, let me find him. Lukaku, the contemporary Adriano. Ooh, that's a good call. That is. Adriano was very useless for us, and perhaps Lukaku. I think Lukaku was a little bit more serviceable for Inter than Adriano was for us. Or are you talking about the old Adriano for Inter? I'm thinking about the Milan's Adriano. Yeah, interesting. But yeah. Anyway,
great week for Who Won Calcio Twitter altogether.
Lots of nominations.
Yeah, and some really good ones. This was a good week for it. So well done to all of you out there. Keep them going at hashtag Who Won Calcio Twitter. Keep it clean. Don't be offensive. It's all in good fun. And I thought that was very well played there by Peach at the Interdude. So, George, let me tell you something. Let's look at that one.
That's one of the best of the year. That one.
Yeah, with the Rabiot. So, anyway, all right. So, that's going to put a bow on this edition of Serie A Sitdown. We have our own channel on Apple Podcasts. and SoundCloud. We're also on Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever there's podcasts. There's Serie A Sitdown. At Serie A Sitdown on Twitter or Instagram. Check us out there. Check us out on Facebook. Here on the YouTube, if you are watching us for the first time, please subscribe, especially if you liked what you watched. Also, drop a like on the video. That helps us out a lot. And also hit that notification bell so that you are in the know when we go live or whenever we drop a new video. So, Raffa, thank you very much again for joining us. We'll get him on for cap number 9 real soon. He was excellent. Chat, you guys were excellent as always. So thank you guys for being taking part, giving your thoughts, giving your input. We ran really late tonight, but want to thank you all for hanging in there. Richard, best wishes for you and your wife, and for your second child on the way, and good luck with the sleep.
Yeah, I know.
So the Serie A goes on a break next weekend. We will too. So we will be back with you on October 2nd, Sunday, October 2nd, and look for us then. In the meantime, enjoy the international break, enjoy the national teams, enjoy the Azzurri. For Richard, I'm Frank. As always, make sure you're telling your paisans about us. Ciao.